Hey, welcome back to STS. This is a show about the world of parkour where we like to feel like we bring a unique perspective onto a lot of the subjects happening in that world.
In this podcast, we're going to be talking about travel, we're going to be talking about jumper's knee and how to train around injuries such as that, as well as the SPL 2 qualifier that just happened at HAL 5 in Belgium, and also King of Concrete and my perspective and his perspective on it.
Once again, I'd like to remind people that we don't put ads on any of these episodes anymore. And so if you enjoy them and you would like to help us out, we just ask that you please share them with a friend, leave us a 5-star review, give us a thumbs up on YouTube, and leave a comment for the algorithm. And without further ado, let's get into today's talk. Yeah, this is my last day in Brighton. And I'll be coming back at the end of my trip, so I'm going to France for a few days and then coming back for a few more days, and probably Brighton again, because by that time Callum and Joe and Lynn and people that I've met before will be back again. But right now it's been a bit of a struggle to find people to train with, although I think we actually managed to get a hold of some people that we're gonna go meet up with after this chat. So
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, but you're not training much right now.
No, I'm not training much. I got tendonitis. It's pretty bad. I came here like specifically for the HAL 5 competition. Also, just trying to figure out how to live on my own, that sort of thing. When I got here, I realized my knee was too messed up for me to actually compete. So I basically just watched all the insane shit that went down. I mean, to be fair, it was pretty insane. Like I wasn't bored at all the whole time, right?
Well, let's dial back a bit, because you were talking about your knee, and you were telling me yesterday, because we both actually have been hit with the jumper's knee bug, the Patellar Tendonitis, Tendonopathy, tendinopathy being more the correct word. And I think even when before you left Vancouver, because I was sharing like my experiences with you, and I was like, hey, you need to step away from some of the things you're trying to do, because it's better to take more time to heal than try to jump in too early. But I think some of the stuff you were telling me today suggests that you let it get really bad.
Yeah, I let it get real bad. I just, I guess I've kind of just gotten used to pain at this point, like for my knee. So the past like few years, I think I've had tendonitis, and I just didn't do anything about it because I was like, well, I can still jump. But then like, especially the other day, I went for fun training with this guy named Jules, and also
that was in Leuven?
Yeah, that was in Leuven. And I was just doing laches and stuff, right? Like nothing that would bug the knee. But when I came home, like to the flat, I was limping, and I was just like barely able to move and stuff. And I was just like hopping on one leg, and I realized, man, this thing's like out of control. This is bad, right? So.
And that was just the other day.
That was just the other day. So.
Because you were saying that limping was occurring after training sessions last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you're out with the guys in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So I always find like tendon pain can be almost like mysterious, because like for me, anytime I've had a bout of jumper's knee, there's certain things I can do that don't bother it at all. And the things that do bother it, they're not excruciatingly painful. And I don't know if you feel the same way, where it's just like you can kind of feel a dull ache at the start. Yeah. Obviously, the more you do, then it turn into real pain. But the start of it sometimes is just like this dull ache. And it usually doesn't get bad until you're cooled down or till the next day. Like I've had sessions where I'm aware of some tendon pain, train a bit, and then hit a jump and I can feel it a bit more, and then it goes away because you just get more warmed up. But then as you cool down and you're, coming home after the session, you're like, ooh, yeah, this feels like I made things worse.
I did not need to do that. Yeah. I feel like there's so many athletes out there too that have this problem. Like so many athletes have jumper's knee. And
well, you also have the, and I think I developed a bit of this too as an adult, unfortunately. Just trying to always push hard and go through the pain, it's always, you're always just trying to improve, right? And it's really hard to take a step back and see it as a way to improve. But you got the Ausgutschlatter.
Oh, should I show it?
Which is, I don't know if you
guys want to see
hold
it?
it up to the camera.
See it? All right. Camera. So check this thing out. It's a nice little bump beside my bump. It's like a second kneecap, right? You see the frame there? I don't know. Can you guys see it? Yeah, second little bump right there.
And you have that on both knees, right?
No, actually my right knee's chill.
Okay. Because I developed it on my right knee, I think in the last, I'm going to say 7 years.
Really?
In my 20s, I used to get a bit of jumper's knee in my left knee. And I was able to just step away at the right times to deal with it. And I don't know, I think I have a hunch that it's because I tore my Achilles tendon on my left leg and started to use my right leg more. Like I was such a left leg specialist up until that point. And so because of the injury, I was using my right leg more. And it's just, I've never had a long stretch where I got over it. And I think over time developed basically, so if you're not familiar with Ausgutschlatter, it's like a bone spur. So the bone, for whatever reason, underneath the tendon actually gets larger. And I think it adds to the problem because obviously if you're doing something like sitting on your knees, you can feel if you have a pointy bone touching the ground versus like a smooth one, it's obviously going to hurt more. And I would think that it would also put more stretch and strain on the tendon too. So it's still like a recoverable thing. I was actually reading a little bit about Ausgutschlatter, and it's a bone spur. Sometimes they operate on it. So sometimes and I'm not saying like you need an operation or I'm considering an operation. I think it's really important to try to
adapt.
Take as because surgery has its own risks, and a lot of times people go in for that's almost like a performance enhancing surgery or like a corrective surgery that might actually make things worse because you're aggravating the area more by like doing an incision and going in. But yeah, essentially I think sometimes it's operated on. I'm just assuming to get to that point, the spur would have to be like so big. And I know you think yours is like, it's a second kneecap, but I don't know. I would like to look up some images of people that, cases where it was actually operated on. But it also just seems like it almost seems like a quick fix to a bad habit, like someone is trashing their knee to the point where they, where they're aware of this thing that's like visibly growing and then getting surgery. I imagine it's probably not athletes that actually get it operated on. I imagine it's probably people that developed it for one reason or another and then can't do like basic things.
It's like rich people.
Not necessarily rich people. It's like, okay, so I've had a flare up to the point where getting like, this is like a low seat that I'm in. Like you can see like my knees are much higher than my hips. And so when mine's flared up, I'll get up out of bed in the morning or off of a low seat like this. And I can feel it as I'm just going through that concentric motion of standing up from that deep knee bend. So if it's that kind of pain and it's not going away for like months and months, then that person probably could get operated on. But as far as I've read, it's very rare that they would operate on it. Yeah. Or it could also be the inverse of that too. It could be athletes. It could be that an athlete has trashed them, like basically built up a bone spur to the point where it's no longer recovering, and they're getting paid to play a sport professionally, as you said, rich people.
Yeah. So I guess that.
But definitely not something I think you could convince a doctor in Canada to do for you because it's all free healthcare, so they don't like to operate on you. They like to
unless you want to wait for like 10 months, then maybe.
Even then, man, like a lot. I think for the most part, Canadian doctors are hesitant to operate on anything unless there's like you could tell a story of like my life depends on this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So if you're like a kid who has Ausgutschlatter, they're not gonna do that for you.
Not gonna do anything.
Yeah. Okay, so you came out here for part of it you were telling me the other day was just like to get away, like you just turned 20.
Yeah, I just turned 20 about like a month or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been 20. I'm 20.
So part of it was just because you were living with your family up until that point, right? So this is like it's a huge step, man. And I think it's really cool what you're doing. Yeah, like that's the kind of thing that I not like necessarily regret not doing. I try not to have regrets because I'm grateful for a lot of stuff that I've been able to do and where I am right now. But I think going way out of one's comfort zone, particularly at that age, because you did like a year of college, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at that age, just maybe even if someone watching this is like going to college, go to college in a different country. Better yet, go somewhere where they don't speak the same language. Yeah, because I think it's just like putting yourself in that space to adapt. I think is really powerful, particularly at that like just young adult age, because you're not going to be in a spot at that age really where I feel like money matters as much. Like we're building something like with money, like an entrepreneur. Like if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, you don't really need to go all in. I think in your early 20s. I think in your early 20s you can still be in this phase of just trying to develop skill sets or character traits or beliefs or whatever. And I think just putting yourself in a situation where you're like way outside your comfort zone. Like I said, the language thing would be like the next step, because then it's like you're going somewhere where you have to just learn how to. The only way you're going to pick up a second language is through communicating with people, and so
I know.
So meeting people.
That's part of the fun. You feel like when you actually like especially for language learning, you actually feel like you're like learning, and then you get that nice like serotonin or whatever. It feels good, right? Like my plan was actually to move to Taiwan, because like I speak a little bit of Chinese, a little bit of Mandarin, and I want to perfect that. So I was like, I might maybe Taiwan's
got a pretty good parkour scene too.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah. It also like it looks super pretty and stuff, right? It's a cool place. So I wanted to go there to like learn to like finish up my Mandarin, because I couldn't finish it because of COVID. It basically like made us all stop in high school. I had to choose courses.
Do you know what you could do maybe is because I know we'll get into it a bit. Some of the I guess misconceptions or trouble you're having getting things rolling here, but I always heard. I know when I graduated high school, a lot of friends or friends of friends went to Asian countries or cities and just taught English, because if you speak it, like it never seemed like there was a lot of criteria to do that. So
yeah, that's what I've heard.
And then if you became an English teacher, then you're making some money, and then you could just train. So I don't know how easy that would be in this day and age, but that could be one thing for you. I'm not sure.
That sounds kind of nice. Yeah.
So right now, the plan was you walk me through this. What did you think was going to happen coming out here?
I don't know. I thought
just from like the work and survival. We'll get into the parkour stuff in a bit.
Got it. Well, I thought I was going to get like a job as a coach, because I thought I was like, at this point now, I've done coaching certifications. I've worked for you for the past like 7 months. It's probably more than that, right?
I thought it was over a year.
Over a year, maybe. I don't know. I got no clue.
I gotta go check back on the records. But,
yeah. I mean, like.
Well, I think it's just you've always been around, so like it's hard to figure out like when did you officially become employed versus
Yeah, well, actually, no. It's been years, really, because I used to do the volunteer work for you guys. Yeah. Those were good times, actually. I assumed that I would be like a special worker, or like what do they call that? Like someone who has like a skill and is going to a new country, and they have like a certain name for.
I don't know.
You don't know?
comments if you know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. Like they have like visas and stuff for those types of people, like doctors and that sort of thing or whatever. I mean, definitely not on par with a doctor, but I felt like I had a skill, and I thought that like me being able to survive in a place that's like very big on parkour would be not too hard. Like I could get a job as a coach or something like that. But then like the more that my knee started to really bug me, I just kind of was like, well, coaching hurts a lot. Like even like Rene's a master at it. He doesn't even have to like show demos at this point. He literally just says like,
no,
do
wait,
this.
You don't gotta be a master to do that. You just
Yeah, but like I think it takes some skill. Like if I'm feeling like lazy that day, especially if I'm teaching like 5 classes in a row and I want to just like get the people doing their stuff and I show them, everyone's gonna be like, oh yeah, I know what to do now, right? And I guess that's just laziness.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't know how effective coaching parkour without showing it is, but like one of the things that I absolutely can't show is anytime I coach an advanced class. It's at the end of the day, I'm usually pretty spent.
Yeah.
Sometimes I skipped a meal, and so like my energy's just already low, and I'm just trying to finish up work for the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just no way I'm going to be able to like, okay, here's the challenges we're going to be working on today. I'm going to go flash them. Like, because essentially that what you're saying is like, and I'd have to flash them, you know, class isn't going to stand around and wait for me to like do preps and things to hit challenges. Oh. So, and the other layer of that too is like, I expect guys in our advanced classes to get better than me. Right. So,
yeah. So
I expect them to be able to do things that I can't do eventually.
Yeah. Imagine having to like demo everything for like Seth, like having to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been there, and it's just, that's the thing is, so you start to like mime stuff, and I don't know, man, so much of coaching parkour has more to do with the environment you create for your students.
Yeah.
So much more than whatever technical cues or knowledge that you think you might be able to impart. Yeah. Because the way you learn a skill is like trial and error, right? Like even if I give you a shortcut to help you a little bit, right? Like, oh, do your precision jump more like this. There's so much trial and error required. So really, a coach, a lot of it just needs to be there, understand what the process is going to be like, be able to provide some sort of like encouragement, and also just make the person feel like they can. If I tell you can do something, right? If you're my student, then you have to believe me.
True. Yeah.
So if you haven't built that trust first, then there's none of that. So, and I don't think any of that requires really demoing a lot. I mean, anytime I've been taken out and been on crutches and stuff, there's still like positions and stuff I can get into to like illustrate things. But yeah, I get what you're saying. So, sorry, I took us off on a little ride there.
Mind if I pause for a second? I just gotta like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just keep talking to the people here. Yeah. He's got something going on.
I got a really bad cold, guys.
Holden came over here. By the way, we can still hear you unless you cover that microphone.
Oh, jeez.
Holden came over here last night, and he was supposed to meet up with me a bit earlier, but he caught a cold, which hopefully I'm not catching him from him right now as we're recording this podcast. But I think we were just talking about coaching with injury earlier before we took that break, before he stepped out to, I don't even know what he's doing in there.
I apologize. I'll be back in a sec.
But that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about...
we were talking about coaching with injuries.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, because I think you were telling me a story actually at one point where you came in to do a workout one morning and you were like, I just made my knee way worse last night doing step vaults.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was a bad night. I thought I would be fine to start training again or whatever, to start coaching without just giving verbal cues. And I decided to just do a step vault. I didn't even run into it, didn't jump into it. Like, it was barely a step vault. It was literally just a walkover. And then it started to hurt. And I was cursing myself. So annoying, man.
Was it the foot that you place on the wall?
It was.
Yeah. So I think it's just going through. I've had that too, where it's like you to do a nice step vault, like you're supposed to be going through like full range of motion, right?
Yeah.
Like you almost sit on your heel. So I could see that totally upsetting your patellar tendon.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I thought it was the jump itself, the actual load, right? But I guess I was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, sorry, back to my plan. That's what we were going through. It was like a plan of what I came here to do. Yeah, so knee thing, I thought it was good. Like I had some coaching experience. I thought I could get like a job somewhere. Like I tried getting a job in Nova City. But then again, I put my address on my CV for that as like in Vancouver. Like I was present.
Were they hiring?
So.
They hiring right now?
Yeah, they had they put like a post on like Glassdoor.
I can connect you with Liam. Well, Liam Norbury was at the event.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I can put you in touch with him.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
But I think okay. But now you're finding that not everything is lining up the way you thought it would.
It's very hard. I mean, for one thing, I got the cold. That sucked. I had like a fever one night. Pretty sure anyway.
But what are you missing right now? Because you came over here on was it a visa you had, or what's the document that you acquired to come over here?
Well, I have this thing that anyone in the Commonwealth can get. It's called a youth mobility scheme. So I think I talked about it on the last podcast too. Right?
Yeah, but in case we don't have for all the non-diehard fans out there.
Yeah, the holding the bag fans. No. But there is you have to basically like get a BRP, which is a biometric residency permit. Like when you get to the UK, you have to pick it up at a post office. So
you're still waiting for that?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that. It's way past due when it was supposed to. I would like had it set for like the 14th.
Do you need an address for that?
For that, no. You just need the address of the like post place. I forget what did I.
Post office.
Post office, yeah. Like I've just been I've been taking trips out to the post office because it's way out in Hayes. So that's like on the outskirts of London, and then like I was living like in the center area.
You're staying in hostels right now.
Yeah, I've been like hostel hopping, so I just like whenever there's an opening or whatever is cheapest, I try to go for anything under like £15. Like I just like.
I don't know what laws are like out here. I know in Vancouver it's very hard to get a job without an address.
Yeah.
So is that going to be like the next problem you have to solve? Or you were talking about getting a bank account too. Yeah.
So like there's a bunch of stupid hurdles that I have to go through. So when I get my BRP, I should be able to get a bank account at this at like Lloyd's. Like, tell me if I'm wrong, anyone watching this. But they said that they're really good for immigrants, people trying to move here and technically I am an immigrant because I have like an immigrant visa or whatever. But it's supposed to be easy for people who have like a BRP, like just who have like the ability to work in the UK.
Yeah.
But every other bank account, they require you to have an actual address, which has a proof that you're living there. So something like utilities bill or something like that. And that's of course impossible for me to get unless I start renting. But here's the catch. I can't rent either because I need to have a bank account to rent. I have to have a proof of earning, right? I have to show that I have money going into a bank account. So like, I don't know if if they really thought about that very much.
Well, yes and no. I mean, this is like I said, it's the same in Vancouver. I was curious when you were leaving if you'd kind of done your due diligence. Doesn't quite sound like it.
Oh, come on.
Sounds like you're learning some things.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But I imagine you could, like, one thing you could do is if you can make some friends, you might be able to get an address through that way.
Yeah, if you want to be my friend and you're in the UK, hit me up.
Yeah, if you're in the UK and you want to help out Holden by letting him perhaps pay your utility bill for you 1 month.
Yeah.
Or give him a place to sleep. He can clean.
Yeah.
He can.
I'm pretty good at that.
He was pretty decent at parkour not that long ago.
Damn.
What else?
I can cook. I made a sick stir fry just
That's
today.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw you chefing away over there.
Yeah.
Okay, so and that was part two, I guess, to your travel is like, come out to the UK because the parkour scene.
Yeah. So I wanted to like a little bit naive of me, I guess, but I thought that I would be able to like, train with all the big teams and stuff here. I was at a point in my training where I thought I got to a pretty good level. Mm-hmm. Like like Vince, Vince, right? He always says like, "Oh, Holden, you're like almost British." Like that's what he always says to me because he's saying like
in terms of skill level.
And in terms of skill level, because he's
funny.
saying like the British guys are always the best. I agree with that. But I wanted to like basically up my level, sort of like I don't know. Like there's people that go to like Thailand from like America or whatever that just want to get better at like Muay Thai.
Yeah.
I saw, like,
no, I think that's cool. Like another step because I think Vancouver, like we have a very small parkour scene, and so you can very much be like big fish, small pond, right? And so if you do want to, iron sharpens iron, right? So if you can go and meet people who are better than you or as good, then absolutely you would continue to improve. And I mean, I still think you could do that out here. I think it's the wrong time of the year. So I mean, it's the wrong time of the year for me to be here as well. But I had the comp to do, so it's like, all right, well, I was telling myself I was either going to go right back or I was going to take this opportunity to see some people. The seeing people hasn't really worked out so great so far. As I mentioned, some of the people that I expected to see out here went to Dubai for the week, and they'll be back next week. Next leg of my trip is in France, so I think that will work out a little bit better. And then, of course, I got to see some people in Belgium, and that was all great. But yeah, I think it's just a tough time of the year. So I think if you were here in the summer, there'd probably be more opportunities for you to meet some of the teams and people
for sure.
that you're talking about. I think there's still like weekend jams that happen in London. It's like the XL or something. I don't know. If you know what I'm talking about, leave a comment. Try to get the intel on that. But I think there's like an XL something jam that happens in London. I know I saw a video of a jam happening at IMAX a couple weeks ago. So there are people out doing it. You know what I've noticed out here too? Like it does rain like it is cloudy and stuff, but I haven't felt like a rain all day sort of like downpour type of thing that we get in Vancouver, where like in Vancouver it can be wet for 30 days straight with like no break. Yeah. Like no chance of anything getting dry. Whereas like here so far, and of course if you're a local to the UK, you're probably going to disagree with me in the comments, but it just seems like there's like a point in each day where it actually gets dry enough to stick to things. So
true.
It's not too bad.
Yeah. I mean, it does get pretty cold here though, and it stays like cold. That's the one problem.
I don't know. It was snowing in Vancouver last week.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. we left right at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah. It usually like warms up a bit in January and then it drops again. It's kind of weird that way. The last couple of years.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the Hell 5 competition?
Yeah, I think we should move on to that. So you were originally coming to compete in speed.
Yeah, and skill.
And skill.
Yeah.
Okay, having not competed in those two things, without pumping your own wheels too much, how did you feel about? We'll start with skill. Like, how did you feel about the level of challenges? Do you like how do you feel like you would have done if you were healthier?
Oh, I would have destroyed it. I would have done like all of them. Like, yeah, Oliver Thorpe would have beaten you so easy. Nah, I'm joking. That was really good, by the way. You guys all did great. Those were pretty hard challenges, I'll admit. Like, I think the top guy only got like 4 out of 5, right?
Yeah, that was in the time round. So in the community round, there were actually several athletes that finished all 9. Which of the 9, if you can remember, did you see anything that you thought like that might give me a little bit of trouble?
The Kong to Polecat, that one was tough.
That was surprising because I remember Dylan actually set that one, and it was intended to be kind of one of the easier ones, at least more straightforward, right? It's just concat, but it is like 2 structures where it's like, okay, you have precise takeoff, precise landing.
Yeah.
I think people tend to avoid those 2 movements, particularly in that combination. So I think people tend to avoid rail kongs more than they do like wall kongs, and they tend to avoid pole cats obviously than catting anything else. And so you combine those 2 things, and I think it was Ian Fortuna. It was the last challenge he had to do, and he said this is my nightmare. But the distance and everything, and if you're familiar with the skill, I think I'm pretty sure there were a couple athletes that like one bang that one.
Yeah, I mean, like if you have the skill like already in the bag, then, and it doesn't take like any extra effort, right? Then yeah, of course they gotta like.
What did you think of the big skinny cat?
Big skinny cat.
Yeah, so that was one that I set. I came in and I wanted there to be a cat leap or arm jump as they say out here. I wanted there to be a big challenge in that realm, and so I was just looking around the gym, and then I found that one. Which was like an off-axis jump to like a skinny thing. So it's not like it's not skinny that you're gonna miss it, but skinny that you have to make sure both feet land in like one basically stacked on top of each other. And then I think most athletes had to do it with like a corner grab instead of a 2-hand on top. But I measured it out, and it was like 12 and a half feet and not level, like slightly up. So I knew that from like a power standpoint that a lot of athletes could hit it.
Yeah, I mean, like when Kevin, like he hit that on the his last attempt, like last few seconds or whatever. That was hype. Everyone thought it was like really hype and stuff. But it did look like it was close to max. Like it did look. It did look.
I don't think it would have been close to max at all for you.
For me?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks.
Well, you said it looked close to max when Kevin did it.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think he's a massive standing jumper.
Oh. Yeah, that's a little more.
I don't know. I'd have to see him do some more stuff to get kind of a read on that. But I think it was just kind of grim. Like we did see a couple athletes like slide down or peel out on it. So I think if anything, it just was like one of those challenges where you look at it and it's the same thing as like doing a polecat. You look at it and like, what makes you not want to do a polecat? You start thinking about slightly missing and not necessarily the impact on your body, but the impact on like just like your shins or like your,
or pulling an ollie.
Yeah, just things like that where you might take a little bit of damage and then the brain just doesn't want to do that. Plus it was up high too, right? Like the takeoff was like probably like an 8.5 foot wall, right? So yeah, it wasn't.
It wasn't nice. That's for sure.
And then in the time round, so you were saying like, I think the time round, I think you would have been able to handle most of them. There was that one that only Ramon did, which was that upward stride, and then you had to plyo into a dive Kong into cat. Ooh. And I think the hard thing about that one was the lack of approach. We almost actually built an added takeoff for that one because we weren't sure if people were going to be able to get enough power on that short approach. So, but it got done. But I think that's what stopped a lot of athletes though, because we saw like even like Gio, like he just wasn't able to get it. He was able to do the first jump and stick it, but you needed to plyo forward into a dive Kong.
Yeah.
And I just don't think a lot of athletes really had the legs for that one.
Yeah, I feel like someone like Daryl or Nathan, they would be able to hit that one pretty good because they got a lot of power from like very little.
So. It's like an upward stride though. Like that wall the wall you're taking off of is like just below hip height, so it's like a pretty big like step up, and then you're jumping up and then going into that plyo. And so
Yeah.
that seemed to be the hardest part.
Yeah, so you got to have like the long legs, plus you have to be able to develop power out of like very little. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a hard combo.
Okay, and then speed.
Yeah.
So we kind of had a mission going into this one that, and it wasn't the easiest gym to do this in because the ceilings are a bit lower. There's beams and stuff, but there are actually some like higher structures. But the mission was basically like, okay, we need to get these folks doing, at least in the men's courses, we needed to have them ascending stuff, have them doing some climbs. Yeah. And so each course did have, like, the first one started with a bit of a climb. The second one, and then later in that course, there was like this midsection where they have their slanted wall, and there was just a bunch of bars and things and so many different routes. But I think the guys managed to do more of like a plyo up to like a Kong sort of variation. So there was only really that first climb in the first course, and the second one had the bigger one where like they had this funky tower that has like, I guess some bars or structures built into it that you can like do descent work with. Yeah. And so we had all the athletes climb up including the women, we had them climb out the back of that one, just to make sure that was included. Because I think it's really easy to design speed courses where it's just a leg man's game. Like, it's just if you're a leg person, if you have hops, then that's like almost like your key to victory. And it still is, even if there's a sense, because you like what makes a high wall run is a good jump, right? Yeah. And so you can set yourself up for an easier climb with a good wall run. Mm. But I guess first of all, what did you think was the what did you think of the difficulty level of the courses?
I thought they were. I mean, someone like Joe Hendo, or actually, I think that this one is definitely more geared towards like Brody Pawson. Like both of them were, because he's got like incredible fast climbs.
Yeah,
right?
I could see that. I could see him through that midsection of the first, and then at the end there was like that series of gaps at the end of the first course that I think he would have probably hit faster than anyone. Yeah,
honestly though, I didn't think anyone, like, everyone had the leg strength, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of like the European thing most of the time, right? But I don't think anyone had the upper body / like climbing strength that you see from people like Brody Pawson or Dylan Pawson or those guys, right? And I think that's what would have made them a little bit better, because I remember like every single person that went to the climb, right? It was like they all that's where they kind of slipped up, right?
You're talking about the first or second course?
Mostly the second course. But the first course did have a couple of people slip up too. So I think like someone like they should probably work more on climbs. But then again, like, I shouldn't be saying anything because I didn't do it anyway. But if I were to do it myself, I think that part would be something I'd be a bit better at. Strides and jumps and that sort of thing, it's like, I mean, I guess they're like pretty average, maybe a bit more than average. But like when it comes to climbs, that's more my forte. And I just think that I would do better at that part specifically.
Yeah. So we had two like standout performers, and I guess I'll add a third one to this too, from the women's division. So we had Tanguy Shingen from Sweden. No, that's wrong.
I think it's Netherlands.
He's from Jump Free Run. Yeah. Yeah. Not from Sweden. Tanguy Shingen, Javier Alvarez, who originally is from Mexico, but I think he lives in Spain now, and then also Miranda Tibling. Yeah. The thing these three athletes all have in common is they have done very well in FIG competitions, where there's not a lot of ascending, but it is a lot of like dropping and leg work and just having the more like powerful like leg motor. But those were our top finishers. So those were like first and second place in both divisions. So I think part of that is that they're probably a little more geared to speed. Maybe not in their training, but I could see Tanguy, probably with his coaches training speed. Miranda, I'm not so sure, and Javier, I'm not so sure, but they at least have that competition experience, and so they're used to like route planning. Like they've had to, even though the FIG courses are like really like just like a straight line, there's still some route planning and decision making involved.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seemed like there was just my take on the speed divisions is it seemed like there were a lot of athletes that were missing like key strategy points.
Yeah.
And I think I think in America too, there's like a lot more athletes that are competing in speed comps more often and finding those strategies. Also, like as you mentioned, like Brody Pawson, Joseph Henderson's a great strategist too, like understands how to use his footwork the best, right? Things like this. Because even the winning competitor, like I didn't see a flawless run. I thought I did, because in comparison to the other competitors, like in that first course, Tanguy was like 2 seconds faster almost than everybody.
Yeah.
And so my initial impression was like, oh, he had a flawless run. Then I went back and watched it and I was like, oh, he took a whole bunch of extra steps there. And then, he chose this at the end instead of, like he had like a running plyo takeoff for one of the jumps at the end. And so like, yeah, there were a couple points where I think he, even being 2 seconds faster than everybody else, it's almost like he, with some little adjustments and just footwork, it seemed like he could have even shaved like a whole second off of that time.
Yeah. Do you think like Javier or Javier? Okay. His first part of the second run, I think, was better than Tanguy's. Like
his first part, you were showing me. We were looking at the videos,
I think it was faster. So if you combine the runs, like the last part of Tanguy's run and then the first part of Javier's run, it would be like a perfect run. That's what I think would be a perfect run. So, but yeah, they both did great. I think everyone did pretty cool. But that underbar, I think looks so sick, and it was fast.
Oh, in the second course, I was torn between that and the some of them were doing like a duck precision underneath.
It just looked gross.
Yeah, it doesn't look cool, but as you know, like for speed, sometimes that's the way you gotta do it. I think the underbar allowed an athlete to not slow down, because if you're doing that duck pre, you had to actually slow down a bit to do that. But if you did the underbar, people we're getting into like very specific parts of the course in this conversation. It's like,
sorry if you're lost.
Like you almost need to be pulling up clips. I'll try to link to some of the athletes' runs in the comment or the description here, so you can pull that up if you're watching on YouTube. But I think the underbar just came down to anytime there's a swing or a grab on a bar in a course, it's all about one, like what are the alternatives? If there's an alternative that might be as fast, it probably is faster. And in this one, they were like very close, and I think it just came down to if you could get off the bar fast enough. Like if you were like really pulling for a long time, then it would slow you down. But anyone that was able to get off the bar fast enough, it may have actually been the faster route. Yeah.
What if someone did like sounds very strange, but what if they just like did a coil?
Just like dove through that hole?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Well, that's almost what the duck pre was. It's just that they were landing on a box, and so you had to clear the rest of the box too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you could actually like dive through that space.
That would be cool.
It seems crazy. Yeah, it would be. It seems crazy. Cool. That seems like not a thing.
Yeah. Anyway.
But that's like, I guess that must have been hard for you though, because you're watching like everybody run this course, and you don't even get to try some of the strategies that you would have liked to employ.
Yeah, it kind of sucked. But that's all right. I find when I can't actually train, like I used to teach the speed class over at Origins. That's my favorite class of all times. I used to make these like monthly speed courses. Like I did it twice before like I had to leave. Like that's what I get a lot of joy out of. I really enjoy making speed courses. I think it's fun. If like I could get a job doing speed courses, that'd be great, because then I don't have to actually do it myself. I just think, oh, that would look cool, right? And then I get Carson or whatever to test it out for me. Yeah. If you guys don't know, Carson's just like guy at Origins. He's kind of a kamikaze. Just goes for everything.
He is the sendiest kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we talked about men's skill a little bit. We didn't talk about women's skill yet. Really great turnout for that. Lots of super high level ladies, and we ended up qualifying 4 of them because there was a tie. Same thing happened in men's skill. Usually when we get to like our final competition for SPL, there's enough rounds that we can get rid of ties, but it wasn't the case this time, and we liked every one of those top 4s, so we put them all through. But I guess like the thing about like men's and women's speed is I felt like the Europeans at least just aren't as good as what we've seen going to like American regionals. That was kind of my takeaway, and I think it's just because there's a bit more specific speed practice. And I'm trying not to take away anything from the European athletes, because I think it just comes down to strategy. I think it comes down to actually getting reps in, practicing courses, and understanding like how you're creating a line with reduced steps, and understanding like what movements are technically faster than others. And so, as I said, like the athletes that did have some experience competing on like world stages too, like they're the ones that really showed up. But everyone, like there were just a lot of big name people that just made really like poor decisions, I felt like during some of the runs.
It's just not how they train.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's like I remember we had this like criticism probably to this day where people were telling us that we should add another style event. So we had like 3 rounds of style, like, so like lines and then big trick.
Yeah.
But they were like, add another style event for blank. Like that's maybe separate only big trick and only lines. Problems with that is like then we have like another podium and extra prize money, so that would suck. But also like the correction I would give is that speed is actually not, because they were saying there's 2 events for parkour and 1 event for freestyle athletes, or free running, as some people still mistakenly say. And I would always say like, well, no, speed is actually not parkour, because we don't do like, it's not part of like a street culture. It's not part of like current. Well, like now, like like some newer younger athletes like yourself are starting to make that a thing where like you go to spots and you'll mark out like speed courses that can be done at spots. Yeah. And that's really cool. Hendo, before he kind of fell off the face of the earth for a bit, was doing like his speed challenge videos. Those are really cool too, where they were always outside, and there were courses that he would do against other athletes.
He did that?
Yeah, there is a great vlog series on Storm if you go back. I think it was called like the Hendo Speed Challenge or
he did
or something. But yeah, he did one with Pedro Salgado, I think. That was a really cool thing. And it's funny because like the roots of parkour always talk about A to B and fast and efficiency, and we just never really do it. We're more on like trying to find, if you're still like more traditional in your practice, like someone like me, I'm trying to find sometimes speed lines, but also just different ways to jump. Like a swing is a jump, a vault is a jump. There's different ways to jump and clear gaps, and different ways to land. There's so many things you can do without getting inverted or really doing like things that are clearly considered tricks. There's still there's a lot of trickery that you can still do within the parkour realm that isn't efficient. It would only be efficient if you found like the perfect scenario to do it in.
Well, yeah, that's that's what the flags are for, right? They help to force certain actions like choke points and that sort of thing, right? Mm-hmm. So what we really like, to make it part of the culture, what we need to do is find a way for people to practice it like outside, and be able to practice it whenever they want, right? So like one way that I found that we could do that, I mean, it would take a lot of work, but having like making speed courses and having it be like a known thing, right? Like,
well, there's one in London. I saw you took a photo at that spot.
That one.
What do they call that spot?
I remember the name. It's the name of like the.
It's a series of brick walls.
Yeah, it's a really cool speed course actually. It's very straightforward, and it's like if I were to have to use the flags or whatever, it's like very straightforward. Like there's a yellow flag right here, red flag right here. It's like,
don't go around the walls, go over them.
It's really simple to do. But the problem is, of course, we can't bring flags everywhere and just leave them up, right? So you need to have like there's got to be another system for people to do that. You're going
to have to design an app.
Well,
you're going to have to get into app design so that you can go, it could be like augmented reality. Like you go to a spot, you hold up your phone and like a bunch of like flags and stuff like appear in front of you, and then some sort of timing system to go with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like another genius parkour kid out there that knows how to, it's like, I could design an app to do that.
Yeah, I had if you guys know like the City Legends app, I think that thing is sick.
I wasn't aware of this. You just brought me on. So City Legends, because the last place I went to where they had a spot map was Calgary. So they use I can't remember the name. I think it's Jump something, or something Jump it's an app that's been around for a while for marking spots. And then in Brighton, there's like a Google map that Tom Taylor started. But you showed me this other thing, this City Legends that I'd never heard of.
Yeah. So, sorry, mind if I get praise again?
You're just having nosebleeds on STS here.
I'm sorry.
Deal. It's really dry out here. I was just telling, really drier than Vancouver. I have dandruff for like the first time in my life out here in the UK. It may have started in Belgium though. I'm not sure. But yeah, City Legends. He put me onto this app yesterday. He was showing me. It's not really used that much. I think it has a cool name. I don't know. Is City Legends? Is it exclusively like a parkour app?
It's for like parkour, BMX, skateboarding, all that.
Okay, sort of so it's an existing. Yeah, that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, it's like
that makes more sense. So like if it's like existing skateboarding or like other street sports app, then it's probably fleshed out more than the other one, because you were saying like you could put videos on it. So, well, I think you can do that with the other one the name is escaping me at the moment, but I think you can do it on that one too.
Yeah, it's I mean, this one is like it's really cool. It's really easy to use, and it's basically like Pokemon Go, but for like parkour. And that's what I like so much about it. It reminds me of like video games like Mirror's Edge or something like that, right? So right now they have like challenges, like you just upload a clip of what you did. But like I haven't figured out a way to use it for speed courses, and that's what I'm trying to do. I want to be able to like use it and then have it specific, like make enough rules and enough explanation to have speed courses like throughout a city or whatever, right?
Wouldn't it just be like you could use the same app, but you could put a video of you running the course or someone running the course and then just put a description?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but then I just remember Carson, and I was like, yeah, someone's going to find some loophole.
Well, actually, the other thing you do, I mean, there's enough, like I bet I could do this in Adobe Premiere, for example. I could, just with keyframing, so just taking little images and keyframing, I could film a video running a line and then put like flags on walls and stuff like that using keyframes. It would just be like kind of tedious. And there's probably an app that can do something similar with like images where you can just touch it with your finger on a phone and it will like stick to something. Like, you know, when you're using selfie, what are they? The filters, whatever, where it's like it puts sunglasses on your face. Yeah, like that's like way more sophisticated than putting like dots on walls or stuff like that. So I'm sure there's a way it could be done or could be added as a feature on an app like that. I guess the app just needs to find a way to make more money. I don't know if it's like a super popular app or not.
I think it's doing pretty good. It's more popular in Europe, like especially in Netherlands and like Germany sort of area. Yeah, they like it a lot. But like Team Fat, they endorse it, and like a couple other people I know.
I wonder if they have a sponsorship going.
Oh, they do. Yeah,
oh,
they have
okay.
a sponsorship. Yeah.
There you go. So, right on. Okay, so last thing we haven't talked about here is speed, or we talked about speed, style, which was an incredible turnout. I think that was like the most talent out of the entire event. Where
super fun.
Everyone who was competing in style in the women's division, you had Elise Bickley, you had Noah Diorgina. In the men's division, you had Ellis Torhall. And Kevin Franzen. And then just a bunch, like just list two of like unknowns or people that don't normally compete in speed in both divisions also.
Yeah.
So you had like Gio Bartolucci. You had Miranda Tibbling who qualified. She does speed competitions, but I know it's not like her favorite thing to compete in. You had Jaco Tambolani who missed his opportunity because he missed his opportunity to compete in skill.
Oh, damn.
But he did style and threw down. We have so much footage to go through. Like I'm going to be editing, co-editing a highlight reel while I'm out here. And there's just so many moments from style to go through. But having said that, what was your biggest takeaway or the thing that stands out to you the most from the style competitions?
European style is better. That's what I think. I think like the style culture here in Europe is just crazy. And I think like the best of the best is here.
I definitely saw some better like line composition, although we did make that clear to athletes that was like a criteria. But I definitely saw some better, not perfect. I am getting, if I have one critique for style lines, and it drives me crazy, is the I'm going to say misuse of ground movements. So gallops, ground kongs, hip rolls, somersaults, and shoulder rolls, they're kind of used in a way to just cover space. So someone will land something, like stomp it, and then use one of those movements to just move like 4 feet. And I just think like, well, you could just take a step. I would to give them credit, I would say it's harder to do one of those movements than to take a step. Like it's harder to roll and then get up onto your next structure, and it's harder to do a gallop or a ground kong and get up to your next structure. It is a little bit harder, but it has like a weird aesthetic where I see,
like
especially if someone does something like, I don't know, a low cast and then somersaults on the ground to something else. It just has this super weird aesthetic to it that has developed over the last few years because connection and flow became such an important decider of style lines. And so I am getting more and more sick of it as time goes on. The answer is, how do you change it? So the solution for me, and I think this is a hard thing for a lot of style athletes to accept, is they have to realize that certain movements don't go with other movements. And so I think a lot of style line planning happens like, I want to do a banger here, and I want to do a banger on the course way over there, instead of just making a choice, like making a hard choice. I think Kevin Franzen might have been one of the only athletes that I see really making these choices, where it's like you do your move, and then you do your move, you land, and then you see what's next, And sometimes, and this is always something that gets exciting to me, and I don't even do like big tricks or anything. I just do, more traditional parkour. But when I actually do, I'm at a spot and I do, like, for me, a big move here and a big move over here, just as I'm warming up and feeling out the spot. And then at a certain point, I realize that I can connect them. I realize that there's like a considerate and logical movement that fits in between, or footwork that fits in between. And that's like just truly exciting for me when that happens, because then it's like I got a line. Whereas if I just forced things together, it doesn't do it for me. And you're left with doing a lot of these now either taking weird steps in between things or doing weird ground movements. And so I'm being hypercritical now of style because really I was still absolutely blown away by just like again the composition was better. It was a lot better than what I've seen at past regional competitions in past years, and the level of that we were able to get out here. But then again, you're pulling from multiple countries. You're pulling from a bigger population. So to compare it to America, it's a little bit unfair, I think, because there's just way more people doing parkour out here. So you're going to get more people.
Well, yeah, but we also said like the Americans are better at speed and skill. So.
That is true. Yeah. That's true. I did just say that moments ago.
I have a cool idea, like just weird things spitball out there. You've done like the combo thing where they have to do like a few move combo, right? What if you give them like? Now this is like I've not thought about this nearly enough, but like. What if you had like
cool ideas getting less cool the more you think about it?
Sorry. You have like they have their time limit like they always do for competition, but then you say like they can do either like combo or they could just do big tricks. So it's kind of like so they basically walk to their next area and then they do a trick, and if they can combo that directly into another move, then they can, right?
It's interesting.
So then they don't have to like connect everything. They just like walk up and say, I'm going to do this.
That's why we did the combo round, because the idea was like doing 3 separate combos. Yeah. And in my mind, when we had 2 rounds that were just lines and then big tricks, so all the athletes have like they probably have the hardest move they can do in the gym in their mind. Okay, so that's their big trick. Yeah. Then they have to make 2 lines. And the problem with lines is that the spot or the area given or some of the other moves you choose don't work with each other, which ends up with poor line composition or poor connection. You just have like filler connection instead of connection that makes sense.
And it's not their fault either. Like they can't like.
Well, you're trying to play the game. You're like, I still got to have all these difficult moves in here, right? So the solution, why I felt that combos were a solution, is it gives athletes another opportunity to do hard things that don't need to be all linked together. Like you still got to link the 2 or 3 move combo, but you don't have to make like a whole line out of it. Yeah,
I like that.
Like there was one of the names I got wrong. Milos, can't remember his last name because we just sent out clips, athlete clips. They got clips of their performances because we had someone on an iPhone the whole time, making sure that everyone got a clip so that we didn't have to have people's friends running onto the course and trying to get clips for everybody. Yeah. That still happened, of course, but but it was that happened less than it normally does. But anyways, I lost track of some of the names for men's style clips, so I mislabeled Milos's clip. But I was so impressed with this. He had a very short line, but the start of his line, he did this super clean Kong gainer. Kong up into castaway, and it was just so nice. That was such a nice combo, such a nice sequence. Unfortunately, his line ended 1 move after that, and I think that's why he didn't score super high. But that combo was just like super nice, and that's the kind of thing we want to see more of. Is just a tight, like just what I described there: Kong gainer, plyometric Kong up, and then another plyometric. Castaway. So super nice.
Yeah, combo. It's like it's gotta be a combo. Like a line. I don't know. Like if I were to do a style comp, what I would probably do is I would do my combo or my big trick or whatever, and then I would like I don't know hype up the crowd a little bit, walk over to my next stage, and then do my next combo. Yeah. Right. That's what I would think because like people are getting hyped and stuff, and they're seeing like I'm preparing for a really hard trick or whatever, right? And then it doesn't have the awkward connection, right? Yeah. So that's what I would do anyway.
Well, I don't know. I think I would like to see less of the ground moves where they don't matter, where they're just in place of taking a step. Yeah. I would just like to see athletes just go back to taking steps because assuming the judges are aware that both of those options aren't really that different, as I said, taking a ground move because you change your level and it disorients you a bit. It is slightly more difficult, but it looks really lame. And a lot of times it just looks really lame. Not all the time. Sometimes those moves really work in sequence. It's just when they're forced because you're trying to cover 6 feet of ground. It's just kind of lame sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see athletes just go back to if they're doing it just because they're trying to link together some hard moves, just take the steps. I'd like to see them go back to just taking the steps. I think we've corrected something in parkour, in freestyle lines with those connections. I think we've tried to correct something by creating more flow, but it's a correction in the wrong direction. The real correction that I tried to talk about earlier was just really making sure the moves actually fit together by making hard choices about, maybe I can't fit all my banger moves in here. Maybe I have to do something different. That could be the case. But yeah, I think it's just a weird correction that we've culturally made in competitions, and it just doesn't look great to me. But hey, some people out there might be disagreeing with me. As always, please leave us a comment if you feel otherwise. If you think I'm totally in the wrong here, particularly when it comes to SPL, because SPL is for the culture. We are trying to make competitions that reflect the culture and that athletes have fun competing in, and that are also exciting to watch. So,
true.
Speaking of competitions for the culture, last night you watched Kings of the Concrete.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Well, I got to see it because Rene had it on his laptop. It was. I really liked it. Rene thinks that there's a few issues, but I liked it a lot because I went into it blind. I didn't even know what was going on. But like after just watching like Ellis Storhall in the previous competition, then getting to see him in the Kings of Concrete, I was like, damn, yeah, I've seen that guy. He's it's like, it's cool, and I was like rooting for him and stuff. And then that giant like lash, like, can I give it away? Or?
Yeah. I don't think it particularly talk about it in words. Yeah, I think anyone who hasn't bought it now is not going to buy it. Anyways, it's been like a week.
Yeah. Anyway, the flyaway pre should have won best trick. Alice Torhall definitely deserved to win.
There was also there was a cork zero, which was particularly this is almost a year ago, and so that was quite like no one else could do that at that time. Whereas I think numerous people could do flyaway pre's. However, that flyaway pre, like I walked it out, and I think it was like over 10 feet.
Yeah, that's nutty. I don't know. That's just crazy.
And he's done bigger ones since Ellis has, and like higher ones.
Yeah, like the not even the flyaway pre's, but he's done like the what I don't even know what they call that with the side flip. Like he goes like lash hand
swings. I don't know what actually is the universal term for a swing side flip.
Yeah. But it looks cool. It looks cool, and he's done massive pre's with that.
Yeah. Too. Kevin Franzen was also telling me that he apparently, hopefully I'm not misquoting here or misunderstanding, but what I understood from what he told me is that Ellis did not actually prep the flyaway pre, that he did it for the first time in the competition. So he did the lache, but he didn't actually do the flyaway pre, and that's crazy. That kid is such a tank.
Yeah. Just nutty on a different level than like
he just really
at this point.
He really seems to just want to always take things to another level and like perform at his best, and he does it, man.
He's like, I don't know, like he's built like a gymnast, but he's in parkour, so he's like he's got the strength to do pretty much anything like a gymnast can do, but he's like doing parkour instead. And I think that's what's so sick is like parkour guys, we do what we kind of like what we have to do or whatever. Like you'll go up to a wall and you'll just practice that. But he's just got a different strength to just show off like bigger and more powerful moves that you don't see often in parkour. And I think that's like, it's very different than a lot of other people in Europe, especially. Yeah. Maybe Ed Scott. Ed Scott's got similar style to that.
Ellis just has a level of difficulty that it doesn't seem like anyone else is hitting. There's different areas of progression. There's things like Tom has talked about where it's progressing with different axes, and we even talked about progressing with different structures, taking various moves to railings and whatever you can find, like whatever is not just like a box or a wall, right?
Yeah.
And so that's another area of progression, is like variety and structure, and then you have like variety and contortion, and then you have the other side of it, which is Ellis, who's like, well, no one really ever does triple flyaways, so or double swing cast in competition. So and I just think he has this tier of difficulty that no one else seems to be able to hit. I think he's just definitely like ahead on that. And so I don't know. I think he's an easy favorite to win the whole thing this year.
Yeah.
I think most people would agree. He doesn't have perfect line composition or connection. And so depending on someone else's ability to really dial that in, I could see that winning a round. But I just think I think the format we have is so built for him too, because combo round, he's going to do 3 bangers. His line is going to be, still also like one of the hardest lines. Easily. He's going to be throwing the hardest things in his line, whether or not he connects it well. And then big trick, he's going to, I don't know, maybe do triple flyaway. We'll see.
Quad flyaway. That'd be crazy.
I'm just like thinking, like, our bars at the gym high enough to? We got that one in the middle that that's like a 9.5 foot bar, and I'd say that's probably the one. If he was going to do the 9.5 foot one that's like right in the middle of the kingdom. Okay. But it's like a narrow landing space. But if you're doing a triple flyaway, you don't need to worry about your sides. It's just straightforward.
There was another athlete that I wanted to talk about from the competition. Is the guy with the dreads.
So you're talking about we're going back to Belgium?
Yeah, back to Belgium. Yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned that.
Shirai?
Yeah.
guys, he was like my favorite.
Oh, he was doing some cool stuff. Yeah,
he was so cool.
I was happy to see him on podium. I also really liked Ellis's friend, Marcus Nilsson. He did some really unique airform tricks, so like really unique axes and grabs. And then he also did this one on the first course where he popped a backflip out of it, and that was like, and so just to do it from that height and then pop. He's also the one that like touched like the high beam. So he just had moments in his lines where I was like, damn, like he was there's so much surprise from his style, and so I was kind of sad he didn't make it up there, but yeah, Shirai also absolutely killed it. So he did some really unique things as well.
Yeah.
Going back to Kings of the Concrete, I also you hadn't heard of Rene before, I don't think.
No, I haven't. Yeah.
And so Rene, I've been following her for a while, and met her at Kings of the Concrete and was like, "You're coming to Vancouver, right?" And that didn't work out. At the time, she was like super excited about it, and I think we're gonna see her this year. But last year, I think she went to For the Love. I think that's why. I think she went to For the Love instead. So I was super stoked at the event to see her get the W. Yeah, I think she, her and Elise, different styles, kind of same level of difficulty, and I think it's going to be between the two of them at SPL 2. But Elise actually had to pull out of Kings of the Concrete because she got heat stroke. So she did her first round and then couldn't continue to compete. And then I don't feel like Noah was on. There was something in the commentary where they said all of her connections have been consistent. I'm like, no, they haven't. She's been falling on her butt every single line. So I just don't feel like she was really on for that competition. But Rene definitely was. All of her lines were almost flawless. She also got, I think she kumquat fo was her big trick. I hate, that's the stupidest name for a move.
Is that the actual name?
Yeah, it's kumquat. Or that's what they call it in LA anyways. Maybe someone, if you got a better name for it, please let me know, because that's all I've heard for it. But it's flipping off your bum on a bar.
I mean, it was really hard to do. So.
Yeah. Oh no, she stomped it too.
Yeah.
Like it was nice. So
Yeah.
also like Kevin Franzen killed it at that event. I mentioned this in our last podcast where he just lands everything with like so much swagger.
True.
It's really cool to see. Yeah. What else did you?
What else did I?
What
like?
else about Kings of the Concrete did you stood out to you?
Sorry, I was just trying to think. Twin parkour, like Aiden and Shay.
Yeah, they made them go head to head.
Yeah, that was. I think they did that on purpose. But they were cool. I think they performed better at SPL. Honestly. Who was it that made it further, or did one of them?
Oh dear, I always get them confused. I think it was Shay, but that's a coin flip.
Yeah, I met them at SPL. They were cool guys, so I was kind of rooting for them. And then like when I saw that they got dropped out, I was a bit sad, but that's cool. What else? Yeah, is there anyone that I'm missing? I think that's everyone that I remember.
So what was like the overall watch experience like for you?
Experience. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I think that it was it was short, sweet, like it kept my attention the whole time. It wasn't like watching like I guess like a baseball game or something like that where I have to be waiting for someone to like pitch. It was like there's something happening at every single second. Right. And like you said, the pacing was off. You said that it was fast, but I actually liked it. So yeah, my personal opinion.
Again, there's when you're critiquing video, there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. I thought it looked really good. The graphics were on point. They had these nice like transition graphics they were throwing in there too. They had little music bumpers. All the camera quality was top notch. So like the whole thing just looked really good. The bad for me with the edit they dropped is that I know they recorded a lot of behind the scenes. So they went.
Yeah.
I think they visited. Like Kevin was telling me that they visited him and filmed him training and filmed Ellis. And so it seems like there's all these interviews and footage that were just completely cut out, except for the very beginning. Like the very beginning, they show Evan Leslie, who doesn't make it very far, by the way. And so they kind of make a point to state that he has kids, and then he gets knocked out in the first round. And it's like, okay, and then he's the only one they did that for. Yeah. No one else really gets a story. And I feel like they could have done this, and maybe they will still. I don't know. I still keep leaning towards this thing. I said, talked about some Tempest productions in the past that never saw the light of day. And so maybe that footage never sees the light of day. It's a real shame if it doesn't, because my issue is that I was there in person, and I can tell you there were moments that were a lot more impactful in person than they came off on screen. I was telling you as you were watching it, I was like, hey, did you notice this? And you're like, oh, what? Did you notice Elise got knocked out? No, I didn't. It kind of gets glanced over. She freaking had heat stroke in the middle of the competition, and she's like probably one of the tops. She is definitely the top seed. I'm going to say it. It should have been her and Rene in the final had she not dropped out with heat stroke. So they missed that. Ellis destroys his ankle, it looks like, or his foot on his second to last run.
Yeah. And
it's this thing where you see him like, and they show it like he's limping, and they mention it, but they had so many cameras there and so much opportunity in this edit to tell the story that I feel like that was just a huge moment, because he came out for this final run and you watched him limp off of stage, and he comes out for this final run, and then he just absolutely throws the hardest line I've ever seen, and it just made the moment feel so big. And so being there for the live event, maybe that's the thing. Maybe you got to get yourself out there and show up to these events live to get that live experience. But what I was expecting from the edit that I didn't get was that extra footage. Instead, what got put out is a very condensed, because it's about a 3-hour event and they condensed down to an hour. And as you said, like, you enjoyed the pace because it kept you interested. I just felt like there wasn't, through the commentary and through any extra footage, there wasn't enough of an attempt to make the big moments feel big. I felt the commentary was very relaxed. It was like how we're actually, I think during this conversation now, I may have been more lively than some of the commentary, if I'm being totally honest here. I think, yeah, I don't know if Jeff was nervous or whatever the case. I'm sure he'll get better from it, from that situation. But yeah, like I think about SPL and Josh and Joey like screaming and like throwing their headsets down and stuff like that. And there were moments like that at Kings of the Concrete. But yeah, it just seemed like they either there was an intention to be reserved or that Jeff and the other guy are just more reserved in general, which isn't great because I think you needed you had some people, some VIP people in the crowd that were just going off, and I think they should have been on that couch doing the commentary.
Yeah. I think so too. Like Flip like Z. Like I think he would do well on that.
Yeah.
Like as a commentator.
Absolutely.
And Joey, of course. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, because I didn't know this stuff, I didn't know anything about.
Yeah.
Like,
So I went in with, I think, really, not really high expectations. I almost see. I'm always like jealous too, like when people are able to put together big projects like this. And so I went in watching it thinking like, oh, if this is really crazy, then I'm going to be so jealous. So it was almost like that, like side of me. And I'm like, oh, if this is like such a great edit, I'm going to be so jealous. And I was thinking of all the things that could have went into it. And then when I didn't see them one by one, I was like, oh, I think I actually enjoyed it. Cause I was watching it with Tom, and Tom was saying everything I'm saying now when we were watching it together. Not to throw him under the bus here, but these are my words too. But when I was watching it with you last night, because you were enjoying it, I enjoyed it a bit more. So I think who you're watching it with, I guess, if they also have high expectations, then it's gonna change things.
Have you shown youth team guys that, or?
No, maybe I should, that could be something we get back if they haven't already purchased it. I bet you Jack has already purchased it.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's probably watched it.
Jack's a real one.
Yeah, especially for that sort of style, he must really enjoy that.
All right, so again, it's not that it's all bad. I think it's still worth people's money. It's like the price you would pay for like a movie to watch. So if you spend money on movies, you can spend money on Kings of the Concrete. It looked amazing, and some really dope stuff gets thrown down that we didn't mention yet. I was just, from a content standpoint of the stories to be told and the moments, I just think there was a lot left on the table, a lot left to be desired there. So that is what I have to say.
Okay. Yeah. Those, I thought it was cool, but yeah, it's all good. Sorry guys, I'm like kind of sick right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for us today anyways. We're gonna go meet up with some peeps now and try to get some training on. We're gonna try to see if we can work around your knee issues. I've been feeling okay. I did some jumps yesterday. And I feel okay today, so.
I should hop the suicide wall run, like 1 foot.
One foot the suicide wall run?
Yeah, it would be an MBD.
It would be. if you ghost strided the whole thing.
That would be nutty.
Just like left, yeah. Oh, crazy. All right, well, that is it for us today. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.